Hey there, it's Leona. Welcome to Zen Mindfulness Shodo. Today, we're gonna practice Shodo meditation while focusing on the Hiragana character for E. So, let's begin a beautiful journey together. When you write a character, imagine a square about the size of the character that you are gonna write like this. First, I'm gonna write it. Then I'm gonna explain the points and tips for writing the character beautifully in detail. Let's start the explanation. The first stroke begins from a point slightly to the left, or higher than this point, which is about the center point of the top left square. As you can see, this line slopes a little bit to the left and curves to the left, moving downward to the right. As it goes to the bottom right, it gradually thickens until the middle vertical line comes about to the center, or until the space above the starting point and the space below the lowest point appear to be about the same size. Then pause lightly here and check upward to the right towards the starting point of the second stroke. With that momentum, move the brush upward to the right, and the second stroke starts from a position about the same height as the starting point of the first stroke, where the space to the left of the lowest point of the first stroke and the space to the right of the starting point of the second stroke appear to be about the same size. Check at the end of the first stroke, with the thinnest part of the brush tip visible like this, and continue with that momentum, so it looks more natural to write the starting point quite pointy without stopping firmly here. This way, it looks like the brush movement is properly connected. This line curves to the right at an angle that appears parallel to the slope of the first stroke, gradually thickening as it moves down to the right. The end point of this stroke ends at a position a little bit higher than the lowest point of the first stroke. Also, since we're writing at an angle where these two lines appear roughly parallel, if we can write so that the space to the left of the starting point of the first stroke and the space to the right of the end point of the second stroke appear to be about the same size, this character will be positioned at the center of this square box, which should make the overall balance of the character look good and beautiful. One of the key points when writing this character is the angle of the first stroke. For example, if I write an example here, if you write it almost vertically, parallel to the middle vertical line, like this, the balance with the second stroke will be like this. Compared to this character, it might look more upright and standing straight up. But as a hiragana shape, it's a bit unnatural. I don't think it was originally designed to be drawn vertically, parallel to this middle vertical line. So without making it too upright or too slanted like this, if you can draw it at an angle right in between, not too upright and not too slanted, I think the whole character will look more beautiful. Next point is the heights of the two strokes. For example, when the first stroke is like this, and the second stroke is like this, or when the first stroke is like this, and the second stroke is like this. I'm writing extreme examples to make it easy to understand. But in this case, the heights don't align. The starting points of the two lines are not aligned in height. So even if it becomes like this, I think the overall balance of the character might look a bit off. Also, the length of the second stroke in relation to the first stroke is important. For example, when the first stroke is like this, and the second stroke is like this, or when the first stroke is like this, and the second stroke is like this. Again, I'm writing quite extreme examples to make it easy to understand. But in this case, the end point of the second stroke and the lowest point of the first stroke are almost at the same height. So the end point of this second stroke has come this far. But if it becomes like this, it might look a bit heavy on the bottom right. In the right example, the second stroke is a bit too short compared to the first stroke, leaving quite a large space here. I think it's good to leave about this much space. But if you leave too much space, the difference in length between left and right might be too large, making the balance look bad. Also, if you create the first stroke like this without checking at the end, it doesn't express the movement of the brush from the end point of the first stroke to the starting point of the second stroke. So compared to the form of this character, where the checked part is clearly visible, the brush expression might look a bit poor. I've explained various things, but ultimately, Japanese calligraphy is about sensitivity, so please write in the shape you like. If you think these shapes look more beautiful than the shape of the sample character, please practice writing in your preferred shape. These writing points and tips are applicable regardless of the size of the brush you're using, or the size of the character you're writing. So please refer to the knowledge that you find beneficial for yourself. Now, why don't you try practicing while keeping these points and tips in mind? The key points and tips for writing hiragana neatly, as explained in the video, are concisely summarized in this book. Each page allows you to practice one character. If you're interested, please see the description. When you practice with a brush, I recommend that you place a few pieces of paper under the page that you're writing on, so that the ink doesn't bleed onto the page under it. Alright, let's get started.